Gonna say good luck.
I had to drive down there and I have to come back tomorrow. I've got like 8 hours of driving.
That's brutal.
So,
I wouldn't be stoked.
indeed, I am not.
What is up, guys? Welcome to Diggity, a video game podcast. I'm Jeff James. With me tonight, as always, the incredible, luscious Brody Fultz. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm tired and gonna be more tired tomorrow. So I'm here. We're starting early because I gotta be up in like 7 hours.
And it actually worked out good because I'm going to go to bed early tonight because I got a headache. And my fucking AC's out.
I was gonna say you're gonna wake up in a pool of sweat,
Dude.
Oh,
Isn't it crazy how we do not think about this shit until it is fucking gone from us? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it's fucking 83 degrees in this room that I'm in right now. There's a fan blowing on my nuts. And I'm fucking miserable.
When the same year that we bought this house, it was Thanksgiving. So we bought it in like June. Thanksgiving, my heat went out. We had the whole family. Of course, we were hosting everything. God damn it. So we had to pay probably significantly more because we had to have somebody come out next day, get it installed. It was on a holiday week. Like, it was an absolute fucking nightmare.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, it's a downplay your situation, but I would much rather have the heat go out.
I agree. I can always put more layers on, but it's
Yes.
only socially acceptable to take off, a certain amount of layers, especially if you're going to be on camera.
Oh, bro, it is fucking brutal. And I've learned so much about furnaces by just fucking around with stuff and learning like, shit online. Just because I'm like, I don't want to call. I don't want to call somebody because they're just going to bend me over.
Oh,
And
yeah.
It's going to be like, what was your hourly rate? I know yours is holiday, but like, what do you factor? Probably $200 an hour or something like that?
I have
50?
no clue. This was five years ago. I don't know. It was pricey, for sure.
It's fucking
And on
crazy.
top of that, I mean, we bought a whole new AC and furnace unit, so that didn't help.
Jeez.
It wasn't even just a repair. It was the whole fucking thing.
It was the whole house.
The whole fucking thing.
Good God. Well, for those who are listening for the first time, this is not an HVAC podcast. This is a video game podcast. And each and every single week, Brody and I get together on Thursday evenings on Twitch and at YouTube at 9 p.m., usually Eastern time. Today, a little earlier. That's fine. And we talk about the week's gaming news, rumors going amok, kind of do a little bit of business analysis on some of the video game companies, give a good kind of, I guess, not twist, but a good kind of take on things. And our take is typically no bullshit. We don't really play into kind of community tactic bullshit and nor massive corporation bullshit. So we just say it what it is and have fun, have a discussion, and it's great. And we're part of a thing called Spawn Camp on YouTube. You can go check that out. That's a hub for a bunch of different pop culture and geek style content. There's stuff for video games like us, Diggity. There's also stuff for PC gamers and pop culture like WASD and beyond. And if you love making Gunpla, or I guess assembling Gunpla rather. No, there's custom stuff done too, painting.
I was going to say, some of those guys are in
Yeah, I guess you could say making.
deep.
Yeah. There's the old Build Bros, which have a podcast, and you find everything on YouTube. Like I said, stuff is on Twitch as well. And you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Diggity Podcast. And with that, I think I covered all my bases. Oh, shit.
think you
Discord.
did, too.
Fuck.
Oh,
Damn
Discord,
it.
yep.
Oh.
Never mind.
Yeah, so we've got Discord. Link will be in the show notes on the audio version, as well as a link on the YouTube stream or on the YouTube videos. And it's free. There's no Patreon membership or anything. We just have a Discord server that has amassed a good little community going, and everyone's having fun with each other. It's a nice, safe place on the internet. One of the last, might I add, safe places on the internet to just have a decent conversation with people from around the world. And we talk things like music, gaming, you name it. Formula One, it's on there. There's a topic for everything. We got a food now. That just happened. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was neat.
Yeah.
I like
A
that.
little bit of everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. So jump on in there for free. Go check it out. Talk to some like-minded people. Have a good time. It's hard to find all of those things in one area nowadays. For sure.
Right now,
like, legitimately. It's hard.
Yeah. Right now, the Discord's at like 70 something people in there. So definitely growing. We even have some Gunpla distributors. We have a little bit of everything in there. So definitely come check it out. There's something for everyone here, and we typically have, I'd say, anywhere from 4 to 10 people in a voice chat almost every night, just bullshitting, playing games, and hanging out. So definitely join in there, and honestly, you might end up in a video at some point because we like to record, and obviously we'll tell you if we're going to record, but if you want to join in on that and maybe
let's play,
put on our YouTube video, we'll record at some point. Been playing like Fall Guys, we played Gang Beasts, we've played Pico Park, a little bit of everything. So definitely hop in there. Like Jeff said, the link will be in the description on the audio version, the YouTube version, and also it's on our Twitter. So if you can't find it, let me know and I will send it to you.
Hand delivered in an envelope, so you can talk
Absolutely.
Great. All right, on to some news, my man. Or no, actually no. What have you been playing first?
I have just been playing a little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles. Just the first one. Still working on that Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I want to say 8 or 9 hours into it, and it's like 60-something hours. So it's still in the infancy of it, but I've been enjoying that. A little bit of Fall Guys here and there, but I haven't played a whole lot this week. It's kind of been just one of those weeks, so just playing some Switch in bed, and that's about it. How about you?
Nice. I've been playing some F122, so that's been fun. And then it's been a hell of a week. This is probably the fastest week, man, I've ever experienced. Yeah, it's wild. Like tomorrow's Friday.
It is.
That's crazy to me. That's insane. So it's just been fast paced like crazy. Go, 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 go. And looking forward, hopefully tomorrow this stuff gets fixed and I get AC for the weekend because it only gets hotter from here. And looking to kind of relax this weekend, honestly, for the first time in a long while, man. It's been like almost 2 months since I've had a weekend.
Yeah. Yep. It's crazy, man.
It's wild.
Definitely.
It certainly is. Summer's almost over. It's August 4th.
Yeah, my kids start school next week.
That's wild.
Goes quick. Goes real quick.
Real quick.
So, for our first piece of news here, Logitech G and Tencent are working together to make a cloud gaming handheld. So the new console is set to release later this year and will support multiple cloud gaming services, including Xbox Cloud Gaming and GeForce Now. So they are actually partnered with Xbox and Nvidia, or at least working with them in some capacity, in order to make sure this works. What's your take on this?
My tweet exact spyware, baby.
Spyware. This is a fucking weird one.
Yeah, it is.
I tweeted about it on the Diggity account that it reminds me of years ago when Diablo Immortal was first announced, and they go, "You have phones, right?" I don't know if there's a place for this. I really don't.
Yeah.
And cloud gaming, as it stands now, is already kind of in a weird spot. Where, granted, the Switch has a terrible Wi-Fi chip, so trying to stream anything on the Switch is a nightmare. But I mean, playing on your phone and as a handheld, it doesn't get a whole lot simpler than that. You have your phone that you've already paid $1,000 fucking dollars for, and then you can get, one of those Razer Kishis or the Backbones or whatever the hell, and play everything there. I don't see a big market for this. Or on top of that, you can get the fucking Steam Deck now, which is you can run these games natively on there, so then you still aren't streaming them, and you can run the Xbox Game Pass from there. You can also run Nvidia or GeForce Now, I believe. I don't see where this fits in, and the fact that Tencent is attached to it is not heartwarming by any means.
No.
It doesn't give me warm and fuzzies.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. So a side of me thinks that they will have a little bit of success with this, from the sheer amount of money they can throw at marketing. is disgusting, and I think they will throw a ton of shit at it. And I guess I don't know, like this just seems like to your point, it's like, is there space for it? And I was thinking about it today, and I was like, well, everyone else is kind of like keeping their shit to themselves, and like this is akin to like the Roku streaming stick, where like okay, like I'm just gonna create something that can utilize multiple services on one thing, and I understand that right now you could do the EA stuff, the Ubisoft, all that shit on an Xbox or whatever. Or you can do some of the shit on a tablet. You can do some of the shit on a Switch, stuff like that. But I don't know. I just feel like maybe there is a spot for an aggregator if it's decent enough. But I don't think the handheld route's the way to go with that. I think the way to go with this is like a stick in the home.
I agree. That's what makes the most sense to me, because Wi-Fi's better, but I mean, we still don't have the best Wi-Fi infrastructure.
Yeah.
So if you go to a hotel, their Wi-Fi's dog shit. So if you're going to try to actually stream something from there, it's going to be a nightmare. If you're at home, I fully agree. I think, what we've talked about with Xbox potentially making this stick or this little tiny box that plugs into your TV, and now you just play on the cloud from there, and your Wi-Fi at home is probably going to be better than, out and about and this and that. The only thing I could see, and it's kind of weird, is if it kind of goes through, like, you could pick it up through Verizon or T-Mobile or whatever the hell, and you can actually add essentially a line, right? So you have mobile data to it. That's the only way I could see it maybe doing something decent. But again, at that point, you already have a phone, so why not just use your phone? I don't fully...
Even part to the stick, it's like, why not just put, like, could we not just put an app on Roku?
And I'm sure we could, but also most of the apps running through like Roku or something is
dog shit.
They're usually dog shit. I mean, they're better than the actual smart TV apps, but they still don't run perfectly. So I think having a little bit of a chipset in there to actually kind of process things a little bit better would be beneficial, but I don't know. You don't need anything crazy, but something just a little bit better than that Roku stick probably. I don't know. I think it's just kind of a weird thing, and it may. I think you're right. I think it will do okay, and the fact that Logitech is on board with it, that makes me feel a little bit better. I have some faith in Logitech. Granted, I've never. They make a controller, I believe, but I've never used it. I could be wrong. They might not even make a controller, but as far as their mice and keyboards are pretty good. But the biggest thing with these handheld consoles is the sticks are going to have to feel pretty good in order for it to do well. Like the Switch, that's one of my biggest complaints about the Switch. Playing an FPS on the Switch is an absolute nightmare because the sticks are dog shit. But and that's one of my issues with the Switch right now. But I'm continuing to see the age of the Switch at this point too. So it's I don't know. It has its place, but I would never play like Doom Eternal on the Switch. Absolutely fucking not.
Oh god, no.
That'd be terrible.
Yes.
So I think it's cool. I guess it'll be interesting to see what this is, and I'm surprised they're announcing it now, and it's supposed to go to market by the end of the year. So I imagine we'll be hearing about this again here probably a month or so, and probably have pre-orders, and then it'll launch another month after that or so.
Probably. I mean, I think the thing that always surprises me too is how, like, I think people actually want a dedicated thing to do a dedicated solution. Like, I think, like, we look at the phones and stuff like that, and I think, like with Project X Cloud, I don't think people want to use their fucking phone on top of a controller with their holder and their stand and shit like that. Like, I don't think that's a thing that people really want to.
I think the backbone or like the Kishi or something like that is the ideal way to go about that, right? Like PlayStation just announced that they have a deal with Backbone now. That they made it
plugging it in like to something. I think people just want to be able to pick up a device and be like, "This is my device that I'm just going to game on," because otherwise,
that's fair.
Your fucking phone just turns into notification after notification after notification of bullshit.
Or even the fact that you're wasting phone battery, right? Like if you're out traveling around and don't have a way to charge your phone, you don't necessarily want to drain the battery on your phone, or there is an argument to be made for having a separate device for cloud gaming or just putzing around doing other things. I mean, I could download games on my phone and play through the cloud, but I typically don't. I guess it wouldn't be downloaded at that point, but I have Game Pass Ultimate, and I could sit there and play games on my phone, and I just don't. I don't know why. And I even have that Razer Kishi or whatever, and I don't think about it half the time. So if I did have a dedicated device, maybe I would do it more. I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, speaking of Tencent, there's more Tencent news. Tencent wants a bigger piece of Ubisoft. So Tencent originally purchased a 5% stake of Ubisoft back in 2018. And the percentage that they plan to take is still unknown, but Tencent does intend to become the single largest shareholder of Ubisoft. And currently the intention appears to be buying at least part of the Guillemot family shares, which currently sits at 15%, as well as more from public shareholders. According to Ubisoft's most recent annual report, roughly 80% of their shares are owned by public shareholders. I mean, the Guillemot family, like if they own some of that, that'd be pretty interesting, because I bet you the Guillemot family has a trust vote to it where basically they don't okay shit unless they get the thumbs up from them. So if they get them, then they can start doing whatever the fuck they want with Ubisoft.
Yeah, it'd be a little messy for sure. As far as, even trying to buy them.
Here's the thing. They're going to just fucking eventually buy the whole damn thing. But they said the rumored offer is well above current stock price and means to avoid any sort of competition. They're going to end up buying the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe not this transaction, but like a year or two from now, if Ubisoft has not sold to somebody, they'll buy them.
Yeah. Tencent has their hands in a lot of different pies right now. I mean, aside from even just the companies they outright own, there's a lot of small percentages that they own, and I say small, but these are of billion-dollar companies. So you look at something like even Sony. Like they have a share of Sony. They have, or more than one share, but they have a portion of Sony. They have a portion of like a bunch of different things, Epic Games, and it's just Tencent it continues to get larger and larger and larger. And there's all this conversation about Microsoft becoming a monopoly by owning Activision now too, right? And but Tencent operating pretty much outside of any sort of laws practically. They just keep purchasing shit.
Well, note to that too that 35% of employees of Tencent are actually CCP members.
Yeah, there's also that. It's that would also include all of the companies that they bought up. So
correct.
The actual amount of people that are directly under Tencent, most of them are CCP members. Like it has to be, right? Because they now own so many different companies.
Not only that, I mean, they're funded by the CCP, but on top of that, it is a rule that all Chinese companies, whether public or private, are required to have a member of the CCP on staff.
Yes. Yep. It's interesting. They just continue to expand and continue to grow and continue to basically take over all of the gaming sphere as well as other different spheres, and it's a little concerning, just being perfectly honest.
Yeah. According to this a report back in about this is 2019, there are 7,915 employees who are CCP members.
Wow. Yeah. That's more people than most companies have on staff anyway.
Yep. That's and 80% of those members are key technical personnel.
I see no issue.
Yeah, it's it's great. It's great. Back in 2017, 1,800 college graduates joined the firm. Of those 1,800, 1,200 were CCP members.
Like in our chat, Boyo Hoyo says, "I for one welcome our Tencent overlords."
Yeah, it's great. It's it's kind of interesting. Like using WeChat, right? The director of the party office at Tencent was quoted in an article saying that the party leverages WeChat accounts to manage its nearly 8,000 members within Tencent and uses listed for the CCP WeChat accounts, including organizing party activities, delivering lectures, showing party propaganda films, and casting secret ballots. It's a solid fucking company.
God, yeah, it's.
But here's the thing: Ubisoft, is it fully? I don't know if it changed hands. I mean, Ubisoft Montreal is obviously Canadian, but
right.
Ubisoft is French, headquarters in France.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they'll probably just let them do it, which is kind of crazy, but they probably shouldn't.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that this goes through. And just to be fair, a lot of this is kind of a rumor right now. This is, it's not something that is in writing. Nobody wants to comment on it as far as the various different companies involved. This is solely a rumor, but a pretty well-founded rumor, and I don't think there's going to be any issue as far as them getting what they want exactly. So it's fine.
It's great. I remember reading an article like a while back or whatever that after people started, especially during TikTok and stuff like that, where people were calling out Tencent with different shit and the whole CCP thing, that the CCP party put out an article saying that they have decided to cut ties with Tencent and will no longer use their services. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Okay. No, I mean, my big thing is this. I mean, just do your fucking research on what you're buying for. Like, TikTok's a terrible fucking app. If you use it, that's great. That's fine. I don't judge you from that. I just mean from a security standpoint, it is fucking horrendous.
Oh, yeah.
And just people, I think people don't understand what another country can do, like a country like China, because everyone just thinks of like a country taking action physically in front of you. And I think people should probably smarten up a lot because, for example, Tencent owns so much of the video game stuff that if the CCP decided one day, which they have taken pretty stricter measures, that they said, well, we're just going to ban video games. And those video games are trying to make an entrance into Chinese territory, but their stocks are based on the U.S. stock market. They could entirely collapse companies on the U.S. stock market at whim if they feel the need to do so and destroy an entire industry overnight.
Yes. And I mean, we've seen the Chinese government already cut down on, how many hours kids can play throughout the week. Mm-hmm. They basically have like a online curfew.
Yeah. And stocks did this because those companies went into China, did their shit. China was like, come do it, come do it, come do it. And then they restricted them. Maybe they knew, maybe they didn't. I have no idea. But restricting them just went on their fucking stock price. And
right.
Allows them to either go buy a bigger stake through Tencent, which may or may not be completely run by the Communist Chinese Party, or might just, be a game that they're playing. Who knows? I don't know. What the fuck would I know?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Wild shit, man. So the top 10 titles played on the Steam Deck over the last week have been Multiverses, Vampire Survivors, Stray, Elden Ring, No Man's Sky, Hades, Stardew Valley, Grand Theft Auto 5, Aperture, Desk Job, and Monster Hunter Rise. So I just kind of, I know this isn't big news or anything. I just thought it was interesting to look at this in the spread of games, right?
It's
like
cool
everything from
Multiverse is doing well.
Yeah, it seems to be doing well. I mean, it did just drop a couple weeks ago, so a lot of people are playing it. But I mean, it's awesome to see everything from Stardew Valley to Elden Ring to Stray and Grand Theft Auto. Like it's just I can't even imagine sitting there playing Grand Theft Auto on a Steam Deck, even though it was a PS3, Xbox 360 game.
Mm-hmm.
It's still very wild to think about, right? Like, 'cause see it running on modern consoles and this and that. And then, I mean, it speaks a lot to the Steam Deck, and I'm really excited for mine. They made that announcement not too long ago that basically supply chains had gotten a little bit better and manufacturing had improved for them, and so they were basically updating everyone's delivery window or whatever. Mine did not get updated. Mine stayed the same, which is unfortunate because I was really excited. I was hoping maybe I might get it a little bit earlier, but hopefully at least I'm earlier in the fourth quarter than what I originally was. So maybe I might have it, prior to November. But regardless, I think I'm really, really excited to try this out. I did get to hold one a couple weeks ago, or a couple month ago maybe. Nick took his over to Matt's house, and I mean, yeah, I don't know why. We had a bunch of people over there. It's not like he's going to sit down and play it, but I was excited because I wanted to see it, and it physically is not as heavy as you would imagine, and it feels significantly better than what it looks like. Like, looking at it, it looks like a fucking plank of wood, right? Like, it's just this, looks bulky, and it is big, but it feels good. Like, they really, really nailed down the ergonomics on this thing.
It looks like a Game Gear to me.
It does a little bit. Yeah, I can see that.
Just that form factor.
In other Steam Deck news, the handheld can also now be reserved in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong via Komodo. So, that's kind of cool. I guess that's I don't know anything about Komodo, but apparently it's a distributor, and that's the easiest way for Valve and Steam to really kind of figure out somebody to distribute through to these countries. So
it's kind of cool. Sweet. Some rebranding news. Koch Media is rebranding to Plaion, which is it's quite a name. This rebranding initially started as a visual upgrade to bring their logo and branding into the modern era. Might I also add, to get rid of the stigma surrounding Koch Media. And this rebranding focuses on the fact that Plaion is first and foremost a games company. So that's kind of cool. I mean, the logo doesn't look great. If I'm going to be dead honest, the logo looks like... Have you seen it yet or no?
Yeah, I saw it.
It looks like a fucking arcade logo that you would see at like a mall.
Yeah. And it is straight up pronounced Plaion. Like, that is
Plaion?
exactly...
I thought it was Plaion.
It is,
my bad.
Yeah, no, it is Plaion. And that's their whole thing. They're like, oh, we're video games first, even though they are involved in the film industry and some of that as well. Video games first, like they said. And I think they like you said, they're definitely trying to ditch the stigma that came from their previous branding, right? They've had issues with that in the past. It definitely was painted in a bad light for them many of times, and rightfully so. So by rebranding, I think they're kind of trying to go the Facebook route of, hey, we're meta now, and they even mention that. They're like, if Zuckerberg can do it, we can do it. Like, well, I mean, I guess
Zuckerberg just lost $2.4 billion on Metaverse last quarter, so
yeah,
I don't know if you really want to get into that.
I agree. It's not exactly a smooth transition. Plaion. Yeah, that is straight up what it is.
Okay, I thought it was Plaion, but that's fine. Huh.
Which is interesting too, because Saints Row is just about ready to come out, and to rebrand like right now before this comes out is a interesting move. But yeah, we'll see. It does it does kind of look like a arcade logo, but it also it reminds me of like a phone carrier logo.
Yeah, like Boost Mobile.
Yeah, it has like a Boost Mobile Sprint type of energy to it.
What it reminds me of is the Ouya.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Console, or the Nokia N-Gage logo. When Nokia was trying to make that gaming phone. way, 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 way back in the day. But yeah, it does look like a carrier. That is very funny. It looks sort of like a Boost Mobile.
It does. It's not great. It's not terrible. I understand,
It's
try
also
to
not
separate
very
yourself
inventive.
from the
Like,
junk.
what do you want to call ourselves? Plaion. Okay.
Right.
All right. I guess.
It's fine.
Go for
It's
it.
fine.
Whatever. Cool.
Yeah. So the last little bit of news that we have here is just some games coming to Game Pass and also some games leaving Game Pass. So available now: Ghost Recon Wildlands for cloud, console, and PC. Shenzhen
Shenzhen, yeah.
IO. That's coming to PC, and Turbo Golf Racing on cloud, PC, and Xbox Series consoles only. Which I think that's actually the first time we've seen that, where it is just the Series consoles. Which it's not even a graphically intensive game,
Nope.
so I thought that was a little weird. But it's kind of, that one's very similar to a Rocket League, but different rules more or less, and it looks kind of cool. I want to try it, especially for the people in our Discord that have Game Pass. I think it'd be fun to at least jump in there and maybe record a video and fuck around in it. August 9th, 2 Point Campus is coming to cloud, console, and PC. August 11th, Cooking Simulator is coming to cloud, console, and PC. Expeditions Rome is coming to PC, and Off-World Trading Company is coming to PC. And leaving August 15th is Boyfriend Dungeon, Curse of the Dead Gods, Library of Ruina, Starmancer, and Train Sim World 2. It's not the most exciting month, but 2 Point Campus got some pretty decent ratings. I can't even imagine trying to play a game like that on a controller. That is very much something that is more of a PC game in my mind. The Ghost Recon Wildlands, it's a fine game, but it's a pretty old game. I want to try out the Turbo Golf Racing, and I know next to nothing about Shenzhen. So,
yeah, I don't know. Game Pass seems pretty brutal recently for new stuff.
They have not had a lot of huge ads lately. I mean, they've gotten a few things that kind of did well, especially something silly like, Power Washing Simulator. That was one that got a lot of attention for just kind of a zen game to sit there and take your mind off things, I suppose. But it's not great. But PlayStation's also in a similar boat, right? Like they had their initial big rollout of everything, and there's some good stuff on there. But right now we're not seeing a whole lot of ads to that. So I've also seen a bunch of things trending recently of comparing different numbers, like subscriber numbers to Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, and a lot of what's being left out there is the fact that they're saying PlayStation Plus, but it's including numbers of just PlayStation Plus, like basic or essential members, and then comparing it to Game Pass, which is not the same thing at all. That would be more like games or your typical gold membership versus PlayStation Plus. So it's the typical start some bullshit just for the sake of starting some bullshit.
Yep.
Console war stuff. But ultimately, I think both subscription models are working relatively well for the companies. I don't know how we're gonna see Game Pass make any money anytime soon unless they up prices.
I think
especially
if they close on the Activision stuff, that's probably a big leveraging moment where they would.
Oh, I'm sure.
Maybe a lot of people would say, "Okay, fuck it, I'm gonna buy Xbox because I won't have to buy COD ever again or something." You know what I mean?
Right, and even then, they can raise their prices because now they have all of the Activision games on there, and they should absolutely
raise their fucking prices.
I agree. There's been a beta in Ireland. I can't remember what the countries are. There's only like 2 or 3 different countries that it's in, but it is a beta for basically a family plan for Game Pass. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of neat. That would be something that I think the conversion rate was like, if you converted a normal month of Game Pass Ultimate or Game Pass over to the family plan, it converted to like 18 days or something like that. So it's probably going to boil down to about $25 a month for a family plan that includes, I think, yourself and 4 other people. So that's that's something that could be pretty useful as well, especially because if you get 5 people together, I mean, how many of them are actually going to play necessarily Game Pass games? And that's just more money in Microsoft's pocket, and I think that's probably a pretty good thing. So
No, for sure. I did want to talk about something that I didn't see in the show notes just before we kind of wrap things up, and I kind of want your thought on it. It's more of the business aligned side of stuff, but Nintendo's Q1 sales, they fell 4.7%, and the Switch sales, like current Switch sales right now, are down 23%.
I'm not surprised. They just hit 111 million units sold on the Switch. It is also 5 years old, 5.5 years old at this point.
Yep.
I actually just saw a podcast from a gaming podcast, obviously, that had pretty much a whole episode dedicated to whether you're still in love with your Switch or not, right?
Yeah.
And it did get me thinking quite a bit and about where I am with the Switch. I do enjoy my Switch, but the like I said earlier, the age of the Switch is definitely starting to be an issue, right? It is a machine that can run indie games pretty well, or at least some of them. But even its flagship games, I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, it looks pretty good for being on the Switch. But if it was, on the PS5, it could be a gorgeous game. Even with that stylized approach that they took, it's still not perfect, right? And Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that came out in 2019, 18, somewhere in there. I don't remember. That one, that was awful. Like, as far as what it looked like handheld, very fuzzy, almost hard to play. So it's showing its weaknesses, and I'm not surprised to see that. I still enjoy my Switch for what it is, but once the Steam Deck gets here, I don't know how much I'll use my Switch other than for first-party titles. I really, at that point, it's no longer needed. I can buy it on Steam, I can play it on my PC, and I can play it on the Steam Deck, and I don't need a inferior device at that point other than to play Nintendo games. And that's not even a knock at Switch, but we're 5.5 years into it, and there's not been a mid-gen upgrade. There's not been really other than the OLED, screen, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, that doesn't help, right? And I understand that. Yeah, I understand Nintendo is not trying to be a powerhouse, nor will they ever be. But at the same time, they
cheaped out.
Oh yeah,
they cheaped out when they first even initially launched this. Like, nothing about this launch of this device was any of it was future proof. It was using older technology than what was even present in phones at the time for processors. Like,
yes.
And like a vastly older thing. Like, I think the time has finally hit where it's like when you turn on the Switch for the first time and you play a game on the Switch, no matter what the game is, you're kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, my iPhone, I agree. My iPhone 13 Pro Max is more capable.
Oh, by a long shot.
By a long shot,
easily. Yeah, and that's everybody talks about PlayStation doing so well because of the games, but honestly, I think Nintendo is way more in that boat than what PlayStation is. I think PlayStation has more on their side other than just games, right? And you look at something like Nintendo, and at this point in time, the only thing in my mind that stands out as being worthwhile from Nintendo are their games. And I was, again, thinking about this today, and part of me would almost rather have Nintendo just make games and distribute them elsewhere, because the software side of things is where they excel. And that's not even in their operating system of the Switch, right? Like, the operating system's not good. Huh. You good?
You can't hear that music?
Huh.
Okay, hold on. Stall for a second. I'll be right back. I just, hey, Google, stop music.
But
what the fuck was that?
I appreciate Nintendo for some of the things they've done, right? Like they have been a good proponent in just wonky different devices, right? The Switch having the Joy-Cons that come off, that is a novel concept, and it works fairly well for when you want to play multiplayer games or whatever it may be and take it on the go. And I think that general idea is fantastic, but I don't, at the end of the day, the execution wasn't fully there. Same with the Wii, right? The Wii was the same type of deal where, yeah, the motion controls and stuff were really, really cool, especially at the time, but ultimately the motion controls sucked. And granted, some of that could have been technology at the time versus, where we are now. But I think they have great ideas, but they typically execute pretty poorly in everything except for, their flagship titles, more or less. So
yeah, I am pretty worried. Just one last comment before we close out. I am pretty worried about video game industry in general over the next year and a half, because also on top of this, just generally, consumer spending on video game products have decreased 13% just this past quarter, which makes sense. Inflation, shit's expensive. We're catching up. People had to use credit. I mean, while stuff is starting to go down, like some gas prices and stuff like that, everything is very, goes up like a rocket ship and floats down like a feather with stuff like this. So last thing people are thinking about is purchasing video games. And I think you're going to see some scale back, I think, at some companies. If there's another quarter of decline in the double digits like this, I think you'll see some layoffs, and I think you'll see some projects canceled.
Yeah, and I have seen more news about canceled projects in the last month or so than what I have seen in almost the entire time we've been doing this podcast. I mean, we've seen a lot of different things get canceled, but yeah, I've seen a lot of them in the last. I mean, hell, even the KOTOR remake was delayed indefinitely, and that's not great at all. A lot of people are excited about that. PlayStation put a big chunk of money into that as well because they had exclusive rights to it. So things are in a very, very weird spot. Like you said, everybody is tightening down on some of the more frivolous spending, so they're not going to be purchasing games because, hey, putting gas in your vehicle is more fucking important. Putting food on the table is more important. Paying your fucking bills is more important. So,
pay your
ultimately,
fucking bills, please. Before take care of your family and shit before you go buy video games. Don't go into debt over video games. It's not smart.
Right. So, yeah, I some of the spending can also be equated to the supply chain stuff for like PlayStation. I know they didn't get nearly as many PlayStations out. Xbox is in the same boat. I think Switch is even struggling in some regard to that. I'm not seeing nearly as many Switches on the shelf as what I used to. I'm still seeing some. I mean, they're somewhat readily available, but definitely not in the capacity that we used to see. Their sales numbers are definitely dropping off as far as hardware goes.
Well, actually, here's the breakdown on that shit. So, it was. Well, our projections saw a downward trend in mobile spending as life in the U.S. began its return to a new normal, which makes sense. Like people going back to work, going back to the office, they're not at home on their phone all day, fucking around.
Yep.
And consumers had fewer options to engage with these titles. The current economic environment has certainly contributed to a more expedited decline. Still, the expenditure by U.S. consumers in mobile games remains higher than it was pre-pandemic, said Randy Nelson, head of insights at Sensor Tower. We originally forecast U.S. mobile game industry revenue in 2022 to exceed that of 2021, but the economic uncertainty of the coming months will undoubtedly impact how that unfolds. Overall content spending in Q2 reached $10.97 billion, which is a 13% decrease over Q2 2021. Subscription content was the only segment to post positive gains, and hardware and accessories declined 1%, with hardware being 1% only decline, and 11% for accessories.
Yeah.
So just games.
Just games.
Not buying games, not buying in-game content.
Mm-hmm. And some of that is, we've kind of been in a bit of a dry spell lately too. I mean, we don't have nearly the heavy hitters that we typically.
Yeah,
not
October
even typically.
should be huge.
Summer. I was gonna say this fall is slated to be huge for sure. I mean, with God of War coming out, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2,
Overwatch 2.
Overwatch 2, Bayonetta 3. I mean, there's definitely some big games in the pipeline that are supposed to launch this fall as long as they don't get pushed back. So we'll see some of those numbers definitely pick up, but summer's also usually a little dull for gaming. There's typically not a huge amount of releases. I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is one of the bigger ones. Granted, I also am a JRPG guy, so that's kind of in my realm, and I hear a lot about it just because of that. And then, I mean, Mario Strikers kind of came and went. It didn't seem to really gain a whole lot of traction.
It didn't really make a big boom, did it?
And I'm not too surprised by that. I mean, I feel like that is probably a little bit of a niche market in some regard. I know it's Mario, but also how many people playing on the Switch actually even played any of the original Strikers or anything like that. So, and even I played it like for a week and haven't really picked it up since. So, I don't know. It's weird. And I'm not too surprised, but it also is a little concerning, right? With everything going the way it is right now, and we'll have to see.
For sure. Cool. Well, guys, that'll do it for this episode of Diggity. If you enjoyed this podcast, whether it's the audio version or the video version, please subscribe and like this video on YouTube, and please also consider subscribing as well as giving us a review on a podcast network of your choice, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever. It totally helps us out a ton. Gets us noticed on those platforms better, and we appreciate those who have left us a review. Just consider maybe leaving one if you haven't already. Again, you can find us on YouTube. Spawn Camp is our hub for all things Diggity, as well as other great shows like WASD and Beyond and Build Bros, as well as OBO. We brought OBO back, Objectively Bad Opinions, where we just kind of shoot the shit, and it's a bunch of Spawn Camp personalities on there, just all kind of humming and hawing about different topics. It got pretty crazy, and the last OBO is hilarious, but it got pretty crazy. And if you want to follow us on social, you can do so at Diggity Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And until next time, we will see you around next week for some more